So I've been postponing and postponing filming this video because I had a lot of things to say. It's the second part of my August checking or mid-year checking for my yarn no by year project. I have a special playlist down below for all these videos since I started this project a year and a half ago. I have other playlists too that you can check. Yes, so I finally decided I was going to go for it, and yesterday I went with my list of patterns I wanted to buy and wanted to make, and I was ruthless. So hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my very small YouTube channel about knitting. My name is Isabelle, I am in France, and I will link down below video number 100 where you can learn more about my sons, my cats, and my knitting habits. So as I've said, today it's a yarn by year video checking for mid-year, August. We are past mid-year, a bit past mid-year, or 1.5 years after I've started this project. And one of my goals was to reduce the amount of money I was spending on yarn that would sit in my cupboards and drawers, and on patterns that would sit in my Ravelry library. The first year I started this project, and this is why I called it No by Year for yarn No by Year, I could manage not to buy any yarn online. That was the basic rule of thumb I set up for myself. I will also link down below my first video so it was January 2022 when I officially started this project. I had it in mind since November, December the year before, and also an updated version of my own sets of regulations in January 2023. So the first year, what that project told me is that I was buying yarn online too much. It was so very easy to do add to cart, buy, add to cart, buy, add to cart, buy, and it would fill my cupboards, maybe to fill my emptiness, maybe. So the first year I was really careful about buying yarn only in presents. If I was in a yarn store, if I was in a farm, and the video from the week before, you've seen that I've bought quite a bit of yarn in the farms I'm used to buy mohair and yarn from. I'm fine with that because these are conscious spendings. And one other thing is that I never was in a financial difficult situation. I never had to choose between yarn and eating. And I know for many people, the budget is very tight, and talking about reducing spending money on yarn can be a bit futile, maybe, because some people don't even have enough to eat. But that was my own situation, and I think I've managed that quite well for the last year and a half. I've also learned that yarn comes my way, even when I don't buy any. People have sent me yarn. I've sent them yarn too. So I've only one time, reduced my stash by sending some of my leftovers, but the other time I just bought yarn for people because maybe I thought what I had in my stash was not that adapted to their own style and whatever. So yes, so that's what I've learned. I can manage buying yarn in person, even if I spend a lot of money sometimes, in your eyes, and not buy any yarn online. There was, for this year and past year and a half, there was one past year and a half for you. There was one exception. I hope my chimes do not bother you too much. If they do make too much noise, I will close the window. So there was one exception to that rule that where I bought yarn online, and it was just the week before, because I ran out of one color of yarn that my colleague brought from Bergen to me, and I bought an additional skein of yarn to finish my sweater. I haven't received it yet, and in my own regulations I had said that I can buy yarn online to complete a project if I really need it, because it would be very stupid to maybe wait for 1 year or 2 years that my colleague goes back to Bergen and have this sweater that I want to be wearing sitting there. So buying yarn online has been something that I could manage and be happy with what I was doing, rather than feeling overwhelmed and just add cart buy, add cart buy, add cart buy. What I did last year, I think it was to compensate for that, was buying a lot of digital patterns. I had all the good excuses. I want to support that designer, and that designer has a discount code for whatever reason, birthday or whatever. Patterns can disappear, and I really want to need that one, and I would not like this pattern not be in my library and on my computer because I want to knit it. Many good reasons. And when I added up at the end of the year, it was over 200 euros spent on online patterns that were sitting in my library, my Ravelry library, and sitting on my computer. I had not knit any of them, or maybe a couple of them. They were all in my queue and making my queue grow and grow to an extent that was making me feel uncomfortable, because I was thinking, well, all that I've bought last year, plus the books that I got, I won't have enough time to knit all of them in my own lifetime. So that was kind of an eye-opening. The first year of this project was an eye-opening to me on not overconsume yarn, that trends come and go. And that one yarn that is extremely trendy at some point, and that I can feel very frustrated not to buy and not to add to my stash collection, whatever you call it. Maybe I couldn't be very frustrated, but 6 months or a year down the road, am I still frustrated because I did not get it? No, I'm not. So trends and desires for things come and go, and I'm working on not falling into that little spinning wheel where I see people do this, do that, and there is a squirrel and there is a bird, and I want the squirrel, I want the bird, I want to do the same thing as what person is doing because I like it, and it's absolutely very beautiful. So I get everything to do it, but I don't have the time to do it because, on the other hand, I have other projects. I have other things that come into my mind a month from down the road when I've seen a pattern. I'm usually knitting some other things. I'm not that fast. I'm not that slow, but I'm not that fast. So in a week or 2 weeks down the road, I had already other patterns in mind I wanted to cast on. I cast on, and it's come, 1 month, 2 months come along, and I haven't casted on the one pattern or the series of patterns I bought because I wanted to make them. I wanted to make them, and I wanted to make them, and I wanted to have them in my library collection, whatever you call it. So what I decided was not to buy any online pattern unless I was ready to cast on the spot. And it happened once with the Kalara shawl pattern that I bought when I was ready to cast it on. I bought it the day I cast it on, or maybe the day before. I print out all the necessary information and I cast on. So I cast it on. So did I feel that I was missing anything, not buying all of these patterns? To be honest, no. I know patterns, digital patterns can disappear. But as I'm following kind of the knitting trends and what people do and everything through social media, mostly Instagram, Ravelry, and YouTube, I see people evolve, the trends evolve, and what was very trendy at some point may not be 6 months down the road. And maybe my desire to cast on is not there any longer. So what I did to fulfill my desire to have the pattern on the spot, but not buy it, is make a special bundle of my favorites on Ravelry. If you're not able to use Ravelry, maybe ask me. I try to make a list of the patterns that are there, and make a bundle where I would put all the pattern I wanted to be making. And I called that bundle Want to Make 2023 or 23, because these are the patterns I wanted to make when I saw them. Yesterday, when I first started to have a look at my Want to Make 23 bundle, there were 98 patterns in there, almost 100 patterns in there. So if you say it's 5 to 10 euros per pattern, some of them are free. But you can easily understand how I spent over 200 euros last year. And I was feeling the same as I was feeling when at the end of 2021 I was looking at all the yarn that I had in my room that had filled all the space that I was able to dedicate to yarn, and I was feeling overwhelmed. 100 patterns that I want to make. I would have to knit 2 per week. All next year, if I want to be able to make all of these patterns that I've seen and that I liked on the spot. So it did fulfill my desire to have the pattern I placed them in a bundle, in a collection, so that I don't have to actively buy them and spend money. So on the spot, it did fulfill that part, and that's very good. But now 100 patterns in that list, that's too much. So I decided I will have, maybe, I'm not sure if Ravelry on the bundle, I think it's something that is unrelated to use screen size and everything. I want to go down to 1 page. And I had 4 or 5, I think. So that's quite a drastic change. And at some point, I was thinking I would take you with me along that selection and why I am removing that one and when I am keeping that one and everything. But once I started to go through the process, it was very cumbersome. I did not think it was going to be that interesting. So I've talked about all of these patterns on my previous videos, so you can have a look at them. And today I'm going to talk about the 5 or 6 ones I've added since last time I reported on that list, but of course with a lot less on the list. Okay, you may see a little change. I had to check some things that were not going okay, and of course the screen changed and the webcam changed, whatever. Okay, so since I reported, I added 6 new patterns. I've removed a lot because now I have 43 different patterns on that list. That's still too much to me. That's a page. That was my goal. That's still too much. So I may have to revisit that list again off camera and skim it out and declutter what's in there further down the road. But 43 patterns in that list and 6 new ones. So I have 2 t-shirts, if I'm saying that correctly. 2 t-shirts, yes. 1 cardigan, 1 sweater, a scarf and a hat. So I'm in France, so we are moving towards the end of the summer, even though we had a terrible weather just the past few weeks or days. It was quite cold. We have what we call a heat wave in France ahead of us, so we still have warmer weather. So I'm still attracted to t-shirts and summer patterns. So these are why I added 2 of them there. And I know the southern hemisphere is still in winter, but is going to go towards spring and summer. So you may be interested into these patterns too. And of course, as it was quite cold, I was attracted to sweaters and cardigan, and in particularly 1 sweater, and I will tell you why. And it's been on my mind since it was out. And hat and a scarf, of course, because we are going towards the winter time, and I'm looking for a hat to knit for a colleague. So this hat made it there. I have many different other patterns for hats that I love, so I may keep it there or not. So the first t-shirt is Alna by Amy Christophers. And what I like, you may have noticed, I like, or even maybe color work, but more classical, more quiet patterns, even for color work. And but I like some beautiful details on these simple patterns. I think that's what I like. So Alna has a very beautiful bottom for the t-shirt. The ribbed section, which is not ribbed, it's a lace section at the bottom of the t-shirt, and it's looks quite simple to me. It's very beautiful, and I think also what attracted me is the color she chose. Amy Christophers, I'm not sure I said it or not, but the color she chose for the sample that she made, a beautiful purple, and I'm afraid purple is my new blue because black has never been my black. Blue has always been my black, and I'm afraid purple is going to be my new neutral, you see. And there are 23 projects that have been made, and you can see the pattern on different body shapes and on different people. They've knit a different type of sizes, and I think it's a quick knit. It's worsted weight, and I have some cotton, blue. It's recycled cotton from jeans, so it's blue, not purple. So I was thinking maybe I would knit that t-shirt with that cotton. Maybe not. The second pattern that I've seen, and it's a bulky weight t-shirt or sweater, and with short sleeves. And also what attracted me was one of the samples was made in that very dark purple colorway, and I wanted to buy the mohair cardé from the Pyrenees in that very dark purple that she carries, but she was out of stock and she doesn't know if she will have more or not. And it's Alary by Paula Pereira, with a very beautiful, I'm sorry, I always say beautiful, of course I'm showing and I'm selecting patterns that I think are beautiful, but with a cabled yoke on a dark So the dark gray, I think the first sample she made was a dark gray, but there are others, and I'm going to place the picture with the dark purple. And I've always thought that knitting cables in a dark yarn color, in a dark colored yarn, was not interesting because the cables would not show. But this one is proving me wrong, even on the dark gray. And the dark purple is really appealing to me. So this one, I'm sure, is going to stay in my favorites. And it's going to stay in this bundle because since it was published in August 2023, I've had my mind focused on that one. It was before I went to the Pyrenees, and when I saw it, I said, okay, I want to buy that yarn to make it, but unfortunately I could not buy the yarn. So for now it's going to be waiting for me and for the yarn, for some yarn for me to be knitting it with, but I most probably make it in dark purple. So the pattern is 14 stitches gauge, a bulky weight. I'm sure I can adapt and make the calculations for a smaller weighted yarn. So that would mean I would be knitting a very small size or have to make the calculations again for the yoke with cable. So that could be quite of a challenge, but I'm always interested into such a challenge. The third pattern I've seen, it's a free pattern. So, okay, I forgot to say, Alna is in my libraries and is free. Alary is $15.80 or 60 cents. And do I have the euros? It's 14 euros and 97 cents. So it's a higher priced pattern. Next one is a free one too. And it's also a recent release by Espace Tricot. It's a macaroon cardigan. The macaroon cardigan is knit with light fingering and lace, so light fingering, but I guess you can adapt to whichever yarn you have, and I was thinking to knit it with light mohair from the Pyrenees. I did not buy light mohair this year, but I have some in my stash, so I may do that. It's 20 stitches gauge, so I guess I can achieve that with the mohair. The one thing I won't most probably be making for myself is to crop it too much. I've knit cropped sweaters and t-shirts. I realized that for me, 50 centimeters at least between the back of the neck and the bottom of the sweater or t-shirt or cardigan, I guess, is the minimum for me. That lays or just at my hip, and I like between 50 and 55 centimeters. So I won't crop it the way it's cropped on the sample, and it's knit top down, so I can adapt the length to whichever size I like. One thing with macaroon is macaron, because there are only one O, so I guess it's the French word. It's a very deep raglan, so I may have to adjust for that, because I do not like too deep of raglans, because when you lift your arms, the whole thing is lifting up with it. So maybe I will have to adjust for that, or maybe find some other pattern that is a bit like it. But I like the look of the sweater, the v-neck. It's a very simple v-neck cardigan, and it's free, so you can have a look for yourself. Okay, next is a sweater, the Moriko sweater by Valentina Bogdanova. So it's a light fingering sweater, 27 stitches gauge, and it's €7.80. Once again, this sweater, what attracted me, I guess, it's once again a very beautiful cable yoke. I guess I'm on a cable yoke trend. Maybe I am. She also knit that with a color changing yarn between blue and green and kind of jewel tones. The cuffs and the bottom of the sweater, the parts that are usually ribbed, also have cables. I love that, and I've already placed into that list sweaters or cardigans that had these very beautiful cables on cuffs or at the bottom. This one is with a lighter yarn, and I'm foreseeing that I'm going to be going to Atelier Pure Laine in a week from now. She has a knit day, and she's released a new fingering yarn, Hampshire Down yarn, and I want to get some, and it's a very fine yarn. So I guess 27 stitches, it's going to be around that. So it's also going to be a natural color. And this is what attracted me. The second thing that attracted me is that the yoke doesn't start with ribs. It starts with a pattern that has some kind of a ridge edge. And I've been willing to turn my scraggly color into a cardigan because also I like very much that kind of ridge edge. This one has it, so maybe it will fulfill my desire to turn the scraggly color into a cardigan, or maybe I will go for the scraggly color into a sweater. Sorry, turning the scraggly color into a sweater. But this one has this one has the same kind of idea for the beginning of the sweater, and I think it's an I-cord edging, and I like that very much. So how many patterns? It's most recent release, yes, it's June 2023. Only 20 projects, so you can also have a look for yourself. There are several body shapes that have been that you can see that how the sweater is fitting. So I liked it also for that, because I'm not sure I recall. I will have to see, but I think it's quite size exclusive. There are maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sizes. I'm going to quickly go back to see, so Alna also is up to 162 inches or centimeters bust, between 100 and 162. Alary is between 87 and 188.5 centimeters, so it's also quite size inclusive. Espace Tricot's pattern always are between 59 and 68, no, between 43.75 and 68 inches bust, so it's quite size inclusive, and so is the Morocco sweater. I'm trying to be conscious of that and select patterns that have been designed for a large range of sizes, so that everyone can, if they are interested, can make them. So we are going to be, so that were the first 4 patterns: cardigans or t-shirts or sweater. And the next pattern I've seen, it's a little scarf that is free. It's Bloom by Le Style Knitting. It's only in French, so scratch that. I'm not going to be talking about it, because I may keep it in my own list, but it's only in French. So I will link it down below, but I won't be talking too much about it. I'll have a look to see if there is a schematic and if it's not too difficult to understand. But we have these little bandana scarves trend. I made one, I designed one, and I released it for free. And because these patterns are so simple, okay, let me not elaborate on that. But this one is for free. You can have a look for it. I may place a picture, but sorry, I kept it here and I wasn't careful enough to see it was only in French. So the last one is going to be a hat pattern by Pearl Soho from January 2019. So it's the classic ribbed hat by Pearl Soho. So it's not a new release. I'm not sure why it was not in my library or in my favorites, because I like the crown very much. It's you can fold it for a double brim hat, so it's going to be very warm on the ears, and you can slouch it out. So if you like that, or put it down on your head also. So it's a decay weight, and I think a decay weight pattern is very versatile because you can go higher with a yarn of a higher weight or a lower weight without having to be fiddling too much into your calculations. So it's 32 stitches gauge for decay. It's quite uncommon. I would not say that, but anyway, whatever. 3.25 millimeter. Okay, so I guess they use a heavier yarn with a smaller needle size to have a denser fabric. That's fine. And sizes go from babies to adult large, so you also can adjust for your yarn weight if you're not meeting the gauge. Well, that are the 6 pattern, 5 if you take out the French pattern that I've added it into my bundle since I last reported. So there is now only 1 page in Ravelry and 43 patterns. I think it's too much, and I will have to go through that list again. So the way I've been organizing my Ravelry library is creating bundles to organize the patterns either that I own or that I like or that I've seen, and using tags to have a finer way to retrieve patterns from my favorites, because right now there are 1,878 favorites, so that's way too much. I know that, but I'm not going to be going through that list and declutter it, because it's just an impossible task. So I currently have 20 bundles that I've made over the time I've been using Ravelry. One for amigurumis. One of my sons like amigurumis, so I've collected some, thinking I would need some for him, but I've never done that. Capes and ponchos. So I made everything on the singular. Maybe I should have used the plural because there are always many patterns in there, but whatever. I decided I was not going to use the plural. So cape and ponchos, cardigans, coats, designers. And I may remove the designer bundle because I used to have it there at the beginning when I was using Ravelry, because there were so many new designers to me that I wanted to have them somewhere in place I can retrieve. But now I know most of them. Things you put on your foot, things you put on your hands, things you put on your head, things for the house, jackets, things you can put on your leg warmers, for example. Some miscellaneous things where I did not know where to put them. What people have recommended me, because at some point people make recommendations, and there is no easy way for me to find again who's recommended me that pattern. Scarves, shawls, sweaters, techniques. There is only one item there, so I should just remove that bundle. And t-shirts, vests, and the one to make 2023. I've been considering changing the name to patterns I've seen that are of some interest to me, and I would like to be knitting maybe one day, but it's too long, and Want to Make has the advantage to be starting with a W, so it's at the bottom of the list, and so I'm going to be keeping it that way, and I'm most probably be using the same type of name for next year, want to make 2024. So you've seen on the left part of the screen, I am also using tags to order and to classify all of my patterns. So for example, and to have a final way to search for my patterns with the Ravelry advanced search tool. And I do like tagging my patterns and using the tags when I'm looking for something. For example, one way, you have Theo here is my second son, and he's asked me for a scarf for this Christmas. So I've seen some patterns that I've placed there, and I tagged them with his name so that I can retrieve them. And there is also a little bag because he's a die-hard Dungeon and Dragon player, and I thought maybe a little bag for his dices would be a nice idea too. So I've been looking or placing patterns there, tagging these patterns with his name as I was seeing the pattern, since he said to me he wanted to have a scarf. I may or may not use any of these, and I may do something else, but I will send pictures to him, and we'll see if any of these is appealing to him, and if he wants something else, he'll choose something else, or he'll give me more indications. For example, also, within my head bundle, I have berets. I've been wanting to be knitting berets for a very long time, but I haven't gone around it yet. Okay, so there you have it. You have my way of organizing my patterns. You have my way of collecting patterns without buying them, of being able to retrieve them once I've seen them, because I get quite frustrated to see a pattern that I like at some point and not being able to retrieve it afterwards. So every time I see something that I like on Instagram or YouTube, that's my main, or sometimes Facebook, that's my main source of patterns that I see that I like. I usually look for them in Ravelry, and I tag them and I place them in a bundle so that I can retrieve them. This is why I have so many patterns, and you're going to tell me that many patterns is not efficient at all, because there are too many and you won't be able to retrieve them within almost 2,000 of them. That is true, but tagging and placing in bundles, when I do use the advanced search on Ravelry, I usually retrieve quite easily what I had seen and what I have in mind. So that's my way to organize myself on my patterns library, not to be overbuying these ones, overbuying patterns. And I also try to use a lot of free patterns, because I know not everyone is being able to buy a pattern for 10 euros or $10 or whatever. So it is important to me not to promote overconsumption of yarn and patterns, because I know that this idea is of some interest to you, and some of you have either commented down below that they were inspired by this way of organization and not to buy too much, or so we've discussed also privately with some of you about that project that is of some interest. I know for a few of you, and I think we live in a world where we promote overconsumption and fast fashion, things that will last only for a day, a week, or a season at best. And I'm not at all, I'm less and less interested, if I ever was, about that. I'm more interested into long-lasting items that I will wear and wear and wear. To the moment, they are not able to be worn again because they are used too much. They are too much used. And this is what I want to be my wardrobe and my knitting wardrobe to be. And this is also, I haven't been talking about at the beginning of the video of what I was wearing, because I was not wearing any knits. I'm wearing a not perfect linen shirt or dress. It's a dress. And some of you have told me they were very happy I was mentioning them, so I will link them down below. Because, of course, the dresses or the pieces, let's say, because they have the whole wardrobe, are a bit on the pricier side. But I can assure you the linen is so beautiful and so sturdy that I'm going to be able to wear it for several years before it shows any sign of being worn out. Yeah, you're going to tell me linen is get all wrinkled? Yeah, so what? So what? If you don't like linen, yeah, of course you're going to be buying something else, but cotton gets more wrinkled than linen, in my opinion. And I also try to wear and knit with natural fibers. With linen, it's been processed, of course, and but with companies that are careful about the environment and the way they process their goods and fabrics. And this whole no-buy project, where I allow myself to buy because it would not be sustainable for me to be on a strict no-buy, has also shown me that I prefer long-lasting fabrics, long-lasting pieces that I will be able to wear for several seasons, years, tens of years. It's the same with my shoes. I buy shoes that I can wear several years in a row. Some of them I've worn for over 10 years. And same with the other piece of my wardrobe, my jackets and my coats. I prefer to buy a bit more expensive, but that I will be able to wear for a long time. So that means timeless pieces, pieces where I like. So you see, I better like color blocks than colors everywhere. So that's also why sometimes I make shawls that are very colorful so that I can accessorize my very monochromatic and monoblock wardrobe, and pieces that I will be able to wear years and years and years and years. Same for my dresses, same for my knitting. And I'm considering now, it's knitting is taking a lot of my time, but I'm considering having a me-made wardrobe. I'm not sure I have time to sew everything that I wear. I don't think so. But I would like to go towards that. And I may, if you're interested, I may talk about it. Please tell me down below. This year, this Christmas year, I'm going to be sewing bags, little bags, bigger bags, for grocery shopping or to take your little things. I have one that I place all my connectors and cables and stuff for my computer and my telephone and everything. So if you're interested, tell me, and I will talk about it next time or once I have sewn pieces. But yes, what this project has shown me and reinforced me into is that I prefer to spend money on fewer things, but things that are, or fewer yarn quantities and stuff like that, but things that are going to be lasting for a long time. Either things I buy and wear or things I make. And I guess that's the bottom line of what this year and a half and this mid-year, with past mid-year checking for patterns and buying yarn has led me spending my money on nicer things that are going to be lasting and avoiding fast fashion and such kind of products. So yes, please tell me down below where you are at your own process, if you've been thinking about that, if you are not interested at all and you prefer to buy things that are in trend and right now and are not in trend anymore, and then give them away, because I'm giving away a lot of my unworn pieces and things that I don't wear. I give them away. And yes, please tell me where you are in your own journey, or if you haven't thought about it at all, and if you would be interested into me continuing to be talking about that. And yes, I thank you very, very much for listening to me today, for being here with me and with everyone, for subscribing and doing all the YouTube goodness. And I will see you next time.